Now's the time for our guest speaker, and take a quick look behind you. There's a handsome gentleman at the back there with a camera. So, what do you think his vocation is? Or vocation? Well, if you said football, you'd be right at one point in time. This is our guest speaker, Tim Conley, who is here to share with us a topic called Why Faith Matters. Why Faith Matters. And so he's had some time to reflect on that through his time on the gridiron, I imagine. That may have helped. He's been in every professional league. AFL, CFL, XFL, and NFL. So, but since football days, Tim went on to earn a master's degree from USC Annenberg School of Communications and Communications Management, and certification from the USC Cinema School in the Business of Entertainment. And so currently, he is a TV and film producer and owner of Shanti TLC Productions Incorporated. He's produced 7 films. One of which was featured at film festivals across Los Angeles in 2011. He also serves as project specialist for the USC Office of Religious Life, coordinating all office events in collaboration with the university and the greater LA community. He's an alumnus of Sacramento State, and that's where the football started. So, but he made his way back down here to USC, and now we're into film, and he's going to tell us about why faith matters, and that he is, and to give us his passionate, share his passionate faith practice.
Jog formation here. Got a little bit left in me. No, I never jogged. Even when I was on the field, I never jogged. I was an offensive lineman. Anybody that knows offensive linemen, they don't want to run, they don't want to jog. Walking, making it to the training table to eat, and that's about as much jogging as I did. You can see in the background. I had this thing I'll show you. It was called a trot, where you just kind of walking and you just kind of move your arms a little bit. My coaches didn't like that too much. That was my idea of jogging. There will be no marathons in my life. That's I struggle enough with the cardio machines, let alone I don't know, it was a triathlon, triathletes, I don't know what you call them. You do a marathon, then you do like all this time in the swimming, and then you're on the bike. I'm like, man, that is getting me a headache. I need a sandwich after thinking about it. So if anyone's wondering why I have this hot suit on and I look like some minister from some church in the South, it's my comfort zone. The great Jerry Rice, Hall of Fame football player, used to get his uniform to be perfect before he went on the field. His socks were right, his jersey had to be right, had to be tucked in the right way. And I've kind of admired him since 1985. So whenever I do something, I need to be in my comfort zone. And I'm not a fan of what the Mafia did, but I'm a fan of the dress. So the suits, the Italian-looking suits. I have to always clarify that to myself. And I'm also wearing this ring because my mentor and the late Robert Taylor, who was the head football coach at Santa Monica College, where my college career started, just up the road, he gave me this ring because I helped coach the football team in 2003. And I'm not much for wearing jewelry, but whenever I feel like I need some support from Coach, just telling me to stop taking up all the oxygen in his office, I put on this ring. But again, in all seriousness, my talk today is on why faith matters. let me start off by saying that this is not necessarily a religious discussion, so I'm not going to be focusing on a religious tradition so much, but I'm focusing more on mindset. The things that I've researched, the things that I've learned through life experiences about why faith matters, why it matters to me. I want to start off by just reading what the dictionary defines faith to be. Confidence or trust in a person or thing, faith in another's ability. I'm going to say that again. Confidence or trust in a person or thing, faith in another's ability. Belief that is not based upon proof. That's huge. Belief that is not based upon proof. For some, for me, belief in God or in the doctrines or teachings of religion. Belief in anything as a code of ethics, standards, or merit. So, for me, when I think about why faith matters, I think about something very, very important. Science and religion oftentimes like to separate themselves. Science oftentimes wants to create a hypothesis and be able to prove something. And sometimes religion does that too, which I find interesting because a lot of times in religion they talk about all this mystical stuff, but then they want to prove everything, but then they can't prove the mystical stuff, so it gets all kind of jumbled up in here, right? When you throw this word faith in there, in my understanding of it, from these definitions and from my own personal experience, it's a trust. It's a belief that I can't see what's getting ready to happen. I don't know what's getting ready to happen. But I'm going to focus on what I want to see happen. I'm going to visualize what I want to see, what I want to feel, what I want to experience. I'm going to figure out what steps are necessary to get to that which I'm trying to obtain, that which I want to experience, that which I want to feel. And I'm going to trust that even though I cannot see this, even though I can't necessarily have this hypothesis and prove it right away, that there's a greater force. My Native American brothers call that greater force Creator. A lot of my religious brothers and sisters use the name of that force as God. Some call him Allah. There's a whole lot of different names. Creation. But when you really sit and think about it, and if you meditated on it for a moment, they're all talking about the same source. So whether you're talking about, or whether you title this source as creation, creator, God, Allah, whatever you title this source, you're talking about the same source. Now, when you get into talking about the social teachings and certain belief systems, that all can change. But the basis of what they're talking about the same source. I believe that when Abraham told the Mesopotamians, as the story says, there is one God. What God was, or Creator was giving him in that moment was, there is one creation, there is one God, there is one source of being. There's one source, excuse me for 1 second. I don't know if that'll hold up, but I'm loud enough anyway, right? One of my professors at USC, Mr. Ralph Furtick, said, you remind me of his friend. He's 85, I believe now. He said, you remind me of my friend Paul Robeson. And I said, Professor Furtick, don't ever mention me and the great Paul Robeson. I barely speak English. The man spoke 7 languages. He was a lawyer and actor. Beautiful voice. So I was like, I appreciate that, but please. Maybe we have the loud, booming voice. I do voiceover work too, so that's helps. But I guess you're just going to stay down here, so we'll leave you down here. But the message that Abraham is giving to the Mesopotamians, and the message that has been shared for centuries, thousands of years, is the same message. Faith matters because it's a part of creation. It's a part of that creation that I'll call Creator God now, because that's where I'm most comfortable in my practice. But you could also be an atheist or an agnostic and understand this thinking, this line of thinking, that the world, the universe, like the earth spins 360, right? It's spinning. And what you put out into the universe, what you put out into the world, what our Hindu brothers and sisters teach is karma. What you put out there comes back to you. And I believe in order to put the right things out there, you need to understand why faith matters. You need to understand the essence of why faith matters. I once heard someone say, believe in something and believe in nothing. I think that oftentimes gets confused with some systematic religious teaching, but it's deeper than that. I believe it's more important to have a relationship with Creator God more than just focus on teachings. Because I knew people, and one of them, my father, for example, pull scriptures out of the Bible. You just be blown away on what he knew. And I'm sharing this because it's just an important story or lesson about where you're putting your faith and where it should matter. You see, my father was a good man, but his focus and his faith started towards the end of his life was more so on the things he was challenged with. So then his faith went into, I need to find joy through the drink or something to take the pain away. He was not able to channel all the stuff that he knew, all these teachings he learned out of this book, the Bible, about the goodness of Jesus, what Moses taught, etc., etc. The Apostle Paul, what he was holding on to, and to channel that where he needed to in his final moments. So for a moment, I'm going to read some quotes, and I'm just going to share some personal insights and also some stories and things I've learned about through the years. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I don't need to tell anybody who he is, do I? I think we all pretty much know who Martin Luther King is, right? Said, faith is taking the first step even when you don't even see the whole staircase. Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. Now, I talked about earlier, it's that dark area, that gray area. You don't see it, but what you can do when you don't see it is start to visualize what you want to see. For example, the first time that I was trying to get in shape and get healthy after football was over, because it's hard, you were taught to eat all this food and lift all these weights and, squatting 700 pounds and benching 420 pounds, and now my elbows and my back hurt because I lifted all those crazy weights. But when you stop, there's nobody there to tell you, you can't eat like that no more. But I put 2 pictures in my office where I was working at the time as a teacher in the Santa Monica Valley School District. And I put a picture of Dwayne Johnson, the Rock. And I put another one up of this wide receiver named Terrell Owens, I think. And my buddy said, man, why you got a picture of 2 guys in your office? Is this something you're trying to tell me? I said, listen, I love my brothers and sisters that love the same sex, but that's not what these pictures mean. These are visualizations of what I'm trying to get my physique Like, I can't see it in front of me. When I look in the mirror, there's that dark, that gray area, but this is the visualization of what I want. So when I go to the gym, or when I go to the Santa Monica stairs and I'm cussing under my breath because I'm like, why in the bleep did I decide to do this today? Then I go back to that visualization. Then I would do something else. I had a recording of this linebacker named Ray Lewis, who just retired, won Super Bowl championship this past year.
Wins and losses come a dime a dozen. But effort, nobody can judge effort. Because effort is between you and you. Because every day is a new day. Every moment is a new moment. So now you got to go out and show them that I'm a different creature. Now! So let's do what we do. Tonight, sir, we ain't got to worry about taking no breaks. Don't worry about taking no breaks.
And the reason I had this recording of him is, you could be at any meeting in the world, and if you listen to Ray Lewis speak, he's going to get you fired up to go staple a paper. That's just how I'm motivated. I mean, I never heard anybody, I had no coaches, no other speakers speak like this dude with this. He had this like deep Southern Baptist pastor passion that was very charismatic, and he'd be like, yeah, I want to run through the wall. And you'd be like, wait a minute, why am I so excited to run through the wall right now? So I would play that when I would go to these exercises. And it would help me to visualize and to get in the spirit of what I was trying to do. So when Dr. King says faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase, that was me taking the first step, figuring out what I needed to do so that I could find success. And at that time, through a lot of meditation and prayer, I dropped 123 pounds. And I'm on that battle again. See, when I talk about things, I'm living it. I don't like speakers who get up and tell you, do this, do that, but they don't talk about what they're doing. No, I'm living it right now. Because a year ago, because of my negligence again, I was diagnosed as a diabetic, type 2. My negligence. I couldn't get mad at anybody but me. And I said, diabetes, my faith matters right now. I'm going to defeat you. See, I told diabetes, you are my nemesis. You are the enemy. You will not defeat me. I'm a competitor. I'm an ex-athlete, right? So I always got to turn this into everything turns into a competition. I'm not as crazy as Michael Jordan. He turns everything. I have to explain that because Michael Jordan was gambling. But I'm a competitor. I said, you're not going to defeat me. My physician was shocked. Within 2 weeks, my blood sugar, which was supposed to be, I guess, between 100 and 120, it dropped down, actually about 3 weeks. It went from 578, which I was almost hospitalized. Yeah, I'm going to tell you the truth because the truth is what we need to hear. I was almost hospitalized. So then it was down to about 220 within 3 weeks. And for the past 11, 10 months, whatever it's been, there hasn't been more than 1 or 2 days when it's been over 120. So, phase 2 now, and why my faith matters, taking that step as Dr. King shared with us, is to work on dropping that weight again. I'm not dropping weight for any vanity reason. It's a health reason. As much as I love for people not to mess with me because of my physique and they move out of my way, I want to be here for a specific goal. See, I set a goal. My father left here when he was 59. I said I want to get to 60. That is my goal. And everything after that is an awesome blessing. Whatever he gives me after that, but I'm like, I got to get to 60, and whatever I got to do to get to 60, I'm going to do. So before training was for football, that was my motivation. Now my training is, I got to get to 60. I got a long way to go because I'm at 35. But you know, as you start getting older, you realize like time starts flying by. Like what you thought was a long time when you were a kid is like, that wasn't that long ago. Like, and And my mom's like, you really think you know what time is? Wait till you get to my age, boy. Right? Thank you everybody that came today, especially the friends who come from far. And Dr. Ruha Benjamin, Boston University. I saw a YouTube clip. It was around Martin Luther King holiday, his birthday of this past year. And she described the neighborhood briefly that she lived in. And I know that neighborhood very well because from 1991 to 1996, I lived on 76 near 76 in San Pedro, the east side. For those of you who don't know where that is, there's a freeway that us LA folks say the 110, the 5, the 405, the 110 freeway. There's a street called Florence. Florence was a street where Reginald Denning was at Florence in Normandy, where he was pulled out of his 18-wheeler in the 1992 riots. And unfortunately, those individuals chose to take their anger out of him. But not far from that is, across on the other side of the freeway is San Pedro Street, just off of Florence. That area was surrounded by 3 notorious street gangs. If you go on one side of Florence, it was the East Coast Crips. If you go towards Avalon, near the church that I used to go to, was the 7-9 Swan Bloods. And surrounding all of that was notorious Latino street gang, Florencia. So I couldn't go anywhere, basically, without getting hit up by somebody. Because when you're young and you look like me, they're hitting you up constantly. What set you're from, what neighborhood you're from, and they're looking for a reason to start a fight. But not only was I dealing with the kids and the gangs, I was also dealing with the cops. See, young driving while black, especially in the 90s, and it still exists today. It was rough, and the cops were, a lot of them were like these fired up, jarhead Marine dudes that got out of the military and they're looking for action. And it's known, and my LAPD friends will tell you, it was known that if you can survive in LAPD, you can survive in any department. And these guys wanted to be at 77th Division, which is one of the roughest divisions for LAPD, where my house was near. They wanted to be there. They were looking for action. And the enemy then was not who was overseas. It was guys that looked like me, even though I wasn't gang affiliated. But to them, it didn't matter. So I knew what it felt like to get thrown up against the car, and I was never beat like Rodney King, but in my own way, I experienced some police brutality that I heard you talking about, and it took my mind back to that time. And she talked about what as they called them, was Malcolm X, the so-called Negroes, the name given to blacks went by at the time. And the police brutality that was happening that led to the 65 Watts riots. See, I lived through the 92. My mother lived through both the 92 and the 65. So it's riots. And just the mindset that you can choose to take. This is where your faith is going to kick in. So I have this blind spot, this gray spot, this black spot. I can focus now on all the negativity that's going on around me. Or I can use the tools that are surrounding me to help me rise above that. The tools that folks went through something worse than I can ever imagine went through to help them rise above it. The tools the slaves used. They sung Negro spirituals. They took the slops that were given to them and they turned them into dishes called soul food. Although some of it I can't. The prophetic part of his dream, which was towards the end of his dream, Martin Luther King's dream. She said, we have a choice which direction we are going. Upwards, towards the prophetic dream, or to focus all your energy downwards towards the nightmare. I believe the slaves, because I wouldn't be here today doing this, they focused upwards. My mother focused upwards. How much time do I have left? Because I get to talking in 15. My mother focused upwards. You see, she went to USC during the Civil Rights Movement. She got on campus, I believe, in 1968. My mother reminds me a lot of Angela Davis. Her energy, her action. She's a college professor, not as famous as Angela Davis, but she's definitely got her spirit. And my mother is like not most kids' moms. You know, when I went out for football and I came back the first day complaining, she was like, "Toughen up." You know, most of them were like, "I don't want you to get hurt." My mom was like, "You're gonna toughen up because the world is not nice. Toughen up. Learn the discipline." I don't know many moms who would probably say that. But then I have to also understand that my mom owned firearms. She was surrounded by a group known as the Black Panther Party at one point in time. She was kind of one of those revolutionary types. She's a lot different now, but back then that was the energy in the air. But she went to USC at a time where she was in the business school, and oftentimes she was the only person of color in her classes. Predominantly white males. Some of them are part of this group called the John Birks Society. So folks in this room probably may have heard of them. But her faith mattered. Those lessons she got from St. Reed Missionary Baptist Church, growing up in the 50s in Los Angeles, of not focusing on the negativity. And for her faith then focused on Jesus and his teachings. She would often tell me when I was a kid about you have to focus your energy on what Jesus went through on the cross. The words, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. It's a beautiful story. And when you're going through, as Dr. Benjamin talked about, some of her version of the nightmares, how to look up, to focus on the goal, because man does not control your destiny. If karma is true, as our Hindu brothers teach, when that's 360 is spent, what you put out is what you're going to get back. Don't worry about what they're doing. They can't control it. And they did, because my mother earned her BA to start. Then she went to talk to the dean of the business school about getting her master's. And all he saw was a black leather coat and an afro, black shirt, black pants, whatever she had on, and saw this revolutionary kid that he didn't want. Whatever prejudicial feelings he was having at that moment, that was what he saw in my mom. And he told her she, basically in so many words, couldn't be a part of business. But see, my mother was one of those people who was all involved in everything. Community organizing on campus. She was student body president when she was in high school at Fremont High, near my grandmother's house. And she went into the office of Dr. Norman Topic, who was the president of USC at the time, and talked to his, as they called him then, secretary. Now we use the term administrative assistant or executive assistant. I have to be politically correct if anybody sees it. His secretary, who had befriended my mom like a little sister, because she would go and talk to her from time to time. And she cried on her shoulders and told her what had happened. My mother, not knowing that this secretary was going to go tell Dr. Topping everything that happened. This is the president of the university. He told that dean, you let her in or you're out of a job. And my mother got into the business school. And she's done very well for herself since then. Has been teaching for, I want to guess, 20 years now. She's taught at a lot of different schools in Southern California. And without her focusing on her faith and why it mattered, even though when she got upset, she got through that, she picked herself up. As the great Michael Irvin said when he went through his transitions, get up, look up, and never give up. She got up, she looked up, and she didn't give up. And she's my hero, my inspiration. Why I went on with higher education. My mother didn't know that Dr. Topping did this. See, there was no boasting, there was no story to tell her to share this. She just knew she got into school. She didn't know how. She found this out 30 years later from Dr. Topping's secretary, who was having lunch with my mom and told her the story. She was blown away. Dr. Topping, she couldn't thank him because he's deceased now, but they honored him with this name and this scholarship after him. And my mother was one of the students who wrote the original grant that opened the door for the scholarship to help all these students over the years. And this is dating back to so this has been going on since 1973. What year is it now? So I share these stories because this is why faith matters. I had a lot to share today, but I'm just going to jump forward to some things because I don't want to talk too long. Author Emmanuel Tinney said, before I get to that, I need to finish my point about what you were saying. Sorry. She said, we have a choice which direction we are going. Upwards, the prophetic dream, downwards, the nightmare. And it's really up to which reality we want to come into existence. And all I wanted to add to that is, I shared this story about my mom. That's where faith takes flight. That's where faith takes flight. I stood in a cotton field in Mississippi where my dad lived. Stood out there for maybe 4 or 5 minutes. I almost broke down in tears. It was 107 degrees at 100% humidity. I said, the next time somebody else tells me that a black person is lazy, I want you to go stand your butt out in that cotton field. For as long as I did or longer, you tell me somebody's lazy. Because I was like, I'm hot, I want some air conditioning, somebody bring me some water. And I just started complaining. Oh my God, I'm glad I was not alive back then. They probably would have hung me. I'm like, I ain't doing nothing. You right, I'm lazy today. Instead, I bring that whip over here again and see what I'm gonna whip you. I'm kidding. But on a serious note, just not letting the negativity. Oftentimes, a lot of things in the world are so negative. You look at the news, you look at the media, they're looking for dirt on people all the time. You just got to block that out. Understand karma. Understand what the Hindus were talking about. Understand the circumference. Your mindset, your mentality. I heard somebody say once, if you live in the flames of the old home, how can you build a new one? You're stuck at the old house. Your mindset is stuck in everything. If you're concentrating on the problems of before, how can you grow to where you want to be? The author, Emmanuel Tinney, said, as your faith is strengthened, you will find that there is no longer the need to have a sense of control. That things will flow as they will, and that you will flow with them to your great delight and benefit. As your faith is strengthened, you will find that there is no longer the need to have a sense of control. That things will flow as they will, and that you will flow with them to your delight and benefit. Bruce Lee, Master Bruce Lee. Everybody know who Bruce Lee is? All those kung fu movies from the 70s. He's considered the greatest martial artist that ever lived. But I think about something else with Bruce Lee. Someone once asked Bruce Lee, they said, Master Bruce, how do you do all that? You don't know how to kick and make those noises and jump in the air and do all that stuff? Because that's what it looks like to everyone else that's not a martial artist. And Master Bruce simply said, I don't do anything. It takes over. I don't do anything. It takes over. And I understood exactly what he was talking about as a former athlete. Because there were things I would do on the football field and it would just take over. I wasn't thinking, when that big 300-pound dude who's dripping sweat comes across to come hit me, then I'm going to move my arm this way, and then I'm going to turn this way, and then I'm going to try to put him on his back. That's not what I was thinking. All my training, all my practice, all my studying in that film room, all my studying of the materials they gave me, all the mental preparation, all the understanding from my time in the Baptist church and studying other religious traditions and trying to really grow and grasp what faith is, kicked in those moments. And what Master Bruce Lee was talking about is that when he's doing these kung fu type movements, That's what's taking over. His body, the muscle memory. The muscle memory is taking over. So I shared that, what Master Bruce was saying, to say that we can apply that muscle memory to our minds and our physical being when we talk about faith. We can apply and learn steps to how faith can drive us to achieve the goals we want to get to take that dark area, that black cloud, and turn it from that into what you want to see happen. I believe the first step of that is the word patience. Because I'm always wanting things to happen instantly. My father used to say, we live in time. God lives in eternity. There is no time. I don't know if everyone can see this. I didn't have the time to get a big poster board, but I'll tell you what it says. Initiator and action. Initiator or action. Reaction. Suffering. So, something initiates a feeling inside of you. Something is said, something is done. You might be driving. A lot of people suffer with this one. That bleep, bleep, bleep just cut me out. How could you go across 4 lanes and make a right turn? Initiate. Someone says something to you at work. Someone, your spouse did something. Oh, you're just going to leave all the socks. Boom. You're not going to clean up? I'm fix you. Initiate. Crucial part of this thing, initiator action, is this reaction part in the center. How do I react to that? That affects this last part, suffering. The goal is to get I'm going to do a little math here. 1 times 0 equals what? 0. That is where we want to get through in the suffering column. 0. Including me. How do we do that? Why does faith matter? I don't think you can get to the 0 column without truly deepening and trying to understand how faith matters for you. You have the choice in that reaction column, the second column, as to how do you respond when these initiators happen. I deal with this a lot. I deal with this with students at USC when I'm producing and dealing with my crew and all their energy and dealing with actors sometimes. Lord, let me tell you about the actor energy. Other jobs I've had. How do I respond to that? You don't have to own other people's stuff. You don't have to own what other people say to you, try to do to you, try to bring upon you. An example of that is someone may make a comment and they may try to be passive aggressive about it, some kind of derogatory comment. It's up to you whether or not you want to take that on. It's that old saying, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me. That's the reaction part. I'm not going to own what you just did or what you just said, because you're not going to cause me suffering. Now, I'm saying this on the surface, and there are a lot of steps to getting there, and we all will have moments where things happen and we react. But the goal is to get to that greater understanding the Dalai Lama talks about through meditation, through prayer, whatever it is your practice that brings you peace. For me, it's prayer and meditation. For some, it's meditation. For somebody, their meditation may be playing video games. For somebody, it may be driving. Meditation doesn't mean you sit in a room and go, If that's what works for you, do. But why faith matters, and why I shared some of the things I wanted to talk about today, is just to give real-life examples of how things can move in the 360. And whatever you got to do so that reaction gets to 0, whether it's to talk to a therapist, a clergy member, someone you trust, whoever it is, that's what you want to get to. This is information shared to me, by the way, from the Center for Work and Family Life at USC. This is what they shared. with people who are dealing with life's challenges and trying to find work-life balance and life balance. So this is not just coming from me. I don't want to sit up here like I'm some scholar of the human mind, which I'm not. I'm just a guy who is practicing these things right now as I battle my own life challenges. I encourage you all today to think about that. The initiator of the action. What is my reaction? And how do I get from suffering? Because you don't have to own other people's stuff. And it will help you to control certain emotions because the body is connected. And if all your emotions are focused on negative things, that's what you're going to bring that karma back to. We got to bring that energy, that chi, back to positive energy. I thank you all for listening to me ramble today.
Tim Conley, thank you so very much.